Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're doing a Time Thief Suship test stand video. So I'm really excited to do this with you guys because this is a awesome rank 4 base deck that can summon some really powerful rank 4 monsters, all the way from your Time Thief monsters to some of the newer cards in the Suship archetype, which is really awesome, and an awesome boss monster in the form of F-Zero, which is an awesome card for this deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all this awesome rewards, like getting your name in the description of every single video, getting a signed card in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron, along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this, guys. So this is a really awesome, basically rank 4 deck that can summon out some really cool stuff and uses the Suship archetype mixed with a couple of tech cards to go into some really powerful rank 4 cards, which is really good for this deck. I really love the way that this deck has turned out so far, and I'm excited to see what else they'll do with this archetype, with the Suship archetype. And Time Thieves just was like a no-brainer to throw in with this, because Time Thieves are so splashable in basically any deck that can make rank 4s, which is really awesome because they play Redoer, they have Winders, and the entire archetype is basically level 4 monsters, so it's very easy to kind of work them into rank 4 decks. For example, using them with Raid Raptors is really good, and using them with these Suships is really good. So we're going to go ahead and see what we can do with this one, guys, so don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me quickly shuffle this deck really quick, and then we're going to cut it. There we go. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for our first test hand. So we're going to draw into Ikora. We're going to draw into an Unexpected Die, which is really helpful. Another copy of Unexpected Die, a copy of Time Thief Startup, and an Ash Blossom. So this isn't too bad of a hand right off the bat. What you're going to want to do with this hand is just use the Unexpected Die, and once you use that copy of the Unexpected Die, you're going to special summon from the deck a copy of the Rice, which is going to help you out a lot in the long run of things, because it's going to give you a 2,000 beat stick on the field, but it's also going to give you some extra plays, which is just really nice for this deck. So after we go ahead and use that right there, we're going to go ahead and send this to the graveyard, and then you can use the effect of your Ikora, because Ikora has the ability that if you control a Suship Rice, you can special summon this card from your hand, and you can only special summon this card once per turn this way, and then during your main phase you can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, you can either add to your hand or special summon one excavated Suship Rice also for the rest of your from your deck. Which is really cool, but you shuffle the rest of the cards into the deck. So we're going to go ahead and special summon this card to our side of the field. We don't need to normal summon it at all. And we're going to excavate the top 3 cards off of our deck, which should hopefully be something that we can actually use. If it's not, it's okay. We can still make a rank 4. So let's see what we got. Oh, we got one. Okay, cool. So we're going to go ahead and special summon out the copy of the Rice from the deck. That was pretty awesome. We actually got one. We're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck really quick. And then once we do, since we have 2 monsters on the field, you can actually make a rank 4 right here. So we're going to go ahead and overlay these 2 on our side of the field. And we're going to special summon out the copy of the Suship Ikora class Dreadnought. Now this is going to help us out a lot because when this card is not Synchro Summon, Xyz Summon, it has the ability that you get to draw a card, and you get to, this card makes a second attack during each battle phase if it has Ikora and Rice on it, which is pretty cool. Depends on which one you have. If you have Rice on it, you get to draw a card. If you have the Ikora on it, you get to make a second attack, which a 2200 monster attacking twice is still pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and draw our 1 card. Hopefully it's going to be a level 4 or something that we can special summon to our side of the field, because we haven't normal summoned, we've just used Unexpected Die and special summoned the Ikora to our side of the field. So let's hope that we draw something that we can use. So we drew a Regulator. That's pretty good. It's not the best that we would draw, but it's okay. We can make an F-Zero, so we're going to get fine. So we're going to go ahead and use these 2 and overlay these 2 on top of one another, because once you overlay these 2 on top of one another, you can make any of the XZ monsters that you want, as long as it's not a number monster. Usually I like to make a Redoer at this point, because the Redoer is going to help you out a little bit to be able to get that monster on the field. And then at this point, I would just go ahead and send these to the graveyard, the materials to the graveyard, and once you do, you're going to be able to make a copy of F-Zero, because that's pretty much what you're trying to do the whole time you're playing this deck, is make F-Zero or make a couple of Xyz monsters to overwhelm your opponent. So once you make this card on your side of the field, you have an additional negation in hand, and this card is very hard to deal with, which is why I love going into this card so much. And then at this point, you can basically just pass to your opponent because you have a negate in hand, and if they do out this card, you have the copy of Unexpected Die to go in for more play. So at this point, you pass. You're probably going to negate something and take a monster away from your opponent with the copy of the Draco Future. And then we're going to go ahead and draw into an adjuster. Now the adjuster is going to help out a little bit because if it's normal or special summon, you get to send a Time Thief adjuster, or you get to send a Time Thief card to the graveyard, which is going to help you out. Because if it's normal or special summon, or you special summon a Time Thief card, then you can special summon this card to your side of the field. But if this card is normal or special summon, you get to send any Time Thief card you want from your deck to the graveyard, which helps out a lot. So we're just going to be able to normal summon this card to our field. And we're going to send a copy of Suship to the graveyard. Now, this is, again, the second turn, so you're still going to get some really good plays. Establishing the F-Zero is still probably one of the best plays that you can do in this deck because it's just going to help you out a lot. You can also go into, like, Mega Clops if you can get out 3 Xyz monsters, which is a very hard card for your opponent to out. But then you can use the copy of your Suship because it lets you tribute this card to target Time Thief XZ you control and attach a material from your graveyard to that monster. But if this card's in the graveyard, you can detach a material from an XZ monster, special on this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. So we're going to go ahead and just detach the copy of Redoer from our copy of F-Zero, and then we're going to special summon out the copy of Suship, and we're going to overlay both of these monsters on our side of the field to go into a copy of Redoer, which is just going to help us out a lot in the long run of things. So let's go ahead and do another test hand, guys. As you guys can see, it's pretty consistent about getting out monsters to your side of the field. The only card that I really wish I would have had was something over the copy of the second copy of Unexpected Die, because I could have gone into the Bujin Link monster instead, which would have helped us out a lot more if we had more level 4s in our hand. But you need to have quite a few level 4s in your hand, which this deck usually doesn't have a problem with that to justify going into that card. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck again and see what we can do for the next play. So we're just going to go ahead and shuffle it up really quick and let's see what we can do. So we're going to go ahead and draw. We're going to draw into a copy of Hat Tricker, a copy of the Supper Spot, Rescue Rabbit, which is fantastic, Adjuster, and a copy of Supper Spot. So this isn't too bad at all because it has some really, really good synergy in this particular hand. So we're going to go ahead and use the copy of Supper Spot that has the ability that if you normally special summon a Gunkin monster, even during the damage step, you can place a Gunkin card on top of your deck, which is going to help us out a little bit to get our copies of our Ikura on top of the deck. It also has the ability that once per turn, if a face-up Gunkin monster you control was special summoned from the extra deck and sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you can activate the effect that your opponent pays life points equal amounts of the defense in the graveyard as well, which helps out a little bit. And it also has the ability to special summon one Gunkin Sara from your hand and then special summon one Gunkin XZ monster from your extra deck, which helps out a little bit. But being able to just stack the deck is helpful for this particular card. So we're going to go ahead and activate that really quick. And then we're going to go ahead and normal summon out the copy of Rescue Rabbit. Rescue Rabbit is then going to use its effect to be able to banish this card. And then once you banish the copy of your Rescue Rabbit, we're going to special summon out 2 copies of the Rice, which the Rice is going to be mainly the card that you're going to be using the entire time you're playing this deck, because it's just going to help you out a lot in the long run of things. So then we're going to special summon out a copy of Hat Trigger since we control 2 monsters on our side of the field. And then you can use both of these on your field to go into a copy of the Bujin Link monster. Here's where things get a little bit interesting. So once you go into that card, it has the ability that you can special summon to your side of the field a level 4 monster from your hand and a level 4 monster from the graveyard, because then you're going to make an Xyz play, because it has the ability, if this card is Link Summon, you can special summon 2 monsters with the same level, one from your hand and one from your graveyard, but negate their effects. And immediately after this card resolves, you Xyz summon an XZ monster using only those 2 monsters. So we're going to go ahead and summon back these 2 to our field. Actually, as a matter of fact, don't summon out the Rice. Special summon out the copy of Hat Tricker. Once you summon out Hat Tricker, you can actually overlay both of these monsters because it's going to require you to. And then you can go ahead and make a copy of the... actually, Redoer is not the play here. The play is actually to go into a copy of Daigusto Emerald. Daigusto Emerald has a really helpful play with this particular strategy because you can detach a material from the adjuster. You can detach the adjuster from it, and then once you do, you can actually special summon back from the graveyard your copy of your other XZ monster or your other copy of Rice, so you can make an XZ monster. So we're going to overlay both of these on our side of the field, and then we're going to use the effect. Before we go any further, you're going to special summon this back from the graveyard. You're going to use the effect of the Supper Spot. Supper Spot lets us stack a card once per turn, so we're going to go ahead and stack from the deck a copy of the Ikura on top of the deck, which is going to help us out a little bit because it also has the ability that once per turn, if you normally special summon a Gunkin monster, which these are Gunkin monsters, then even during the damage step, you can place a Gunkin card from your deck on top of your deck, which is going to help us out a lot because we're going to get to draw that card. So we're going to go ahead and overlay both of these monsters on our side of the field and go in for the copy of the Dreadnought. And then the Dreadnought has the ability to let us draw a card, which we're going to draw into the copy of the Ikura, which gives us another level 4 for later on. Now at this point, you can just use these 2 monsters to go into F0. If you want to go in for F0, because you can't summon out anything else from the hand because you've already normal summoned, you already special summoned everything that you have. But at this point, you can just basically overlay both of these on your side of the field, and it gets you a copy of F0, which F0 is a ridiculously powerful card, which is what's really important about this deck, is that this is your boss monster pretty much, and you're using a lot of your other cards to go into this card. So you have to go from your F0 Utopic Future to F0 Utopic Draco Future. So you just overlay them on top of one another. So once you pass to your opponent, they're probably going to take this card out, but you also are going to get a negate. So you're going to be able to just put a card on your side of the field that's one of their monsters, because you take control of the monster that you negate, which is pretty cool. And then you take control of it permanently. But after your opponent passes back to you, if they do deal with this card, which is totally fine, if they do deal with it, you can just draw for turn, and once you draw for turn, you're going to get a Regulator. Regulator is going to help us out a little bit, but the effect of your Supper Spot is going to be really helpful with this scenario, because you're going to go ahead and normal summon this card to your side of the field, and since you normal summoned this card, then you can activate the effect that you can use the copy of Supper Spot. Supper Spot's going to let you put a card on top of the deck, because the copy, you'll go Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, which is going to help us out a lot to be able to get another monster. So we're going to go ahead and stack the deck with a copy of Rice, because you get to do that with this card, with the copy of Supper Spot. And then it has the ability that you can excavate the top 3 and then either add to your hand or special summon 1 excavated Rice. So we're going to go ahead and reveal, oh look, there it is, and we're going to reveal the other 2, because it's mandatory that you have to reveal the other 2. We're going to put both of these back in the deck, shuffle up the deck, and then we're going to special summon it out. Now, the reason that works is because this is Chain Link 1 upon normal summon, and this is Chain Link 2 and chains to it. So you're going to go 1, or you're going to resolve backwards, so this will go off and put the copy of the Rice on top, and this will reveal the Rice and special summon it to your field, which then you can overlay both of these, give that deck a quick shuffle, because we're going to grab a card out of it, and then we're going to special summon out our second copy of the Dreadnought, which is going to give us another draw, which is going to help out because it's actually a Winder, because the Winder is going to help us out a lot to go into more plays in this deck. So let's go ahead and tighten this up a little bit, because we're going to go into some other plays, so I want to be able to get into all my monster zones. We're going to go ahead and use the copy of Winder to detach a material from an XZ monster you control to special summon this card from your hand, which is going to help us out a little bit, because then you can also use the effect to add a Time Thief card from your deck to your hand as well, which is going to help you out a lot in the long run of things. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of this to be able to special summon out our copy of our Winder. I'm just going to special summon out in defense position, and then I'm going to add from my deck to my hand a copy of another Time Thief card, which I think in this particular scenario, the copy of... I probably would add the copy of Adjuster, because the Adjuster is going to help us out a lot, or you can add a copy of Startup, which is going to help you get another XZ monster on your side of the field, because the effect of Winder will let you add a Time Thief card. I believe it's just a Time Thief card. Yeah, you add any Time Thief card, which Startup is a Time Thief card. And if you're trying to push for game a little bit more to get more monsters on the field, you can go for the copy of Startup, because then you can activate it, and then you get to special summon a Time Thief monster from your hand, which you're going to special summon out Regulator. And then depending on how many attack points this has, you can also use this card. So then at this point, you're just going to overlay both of these. And once you overlay both of these, you can grab any of these monsters that you particularly want from this card. You can grab a copy of Tornado Dragon. You can grab a copy of number 60 if you want to grab number 60. It's kindly up to you. Like, it's kind of up to you what you want to summon. You can summon number 60 because it's kind of neat when you summon this card, because you can detach both the materials from it and then make this card a 44 attacker that can attack twice, which is pretty cool because it has both the different materials between the Rice and the Ikura, which is helpful. But usually what I like to summon is a Redoer at this point, because the Redoer is just going to help me out a lot in this scenario where you're just going to have more materials on it, and it's just going to grab cards off the top of your opponent's deck, which is just really, really nice. So that's pretty much it for that test hand. Let's do one more and show you guys another test hand. As you guys can see, the deck is very consistent in what it does. The only thing that you kind of got to watch out for is when you miss with the copy of the Ikura, when you don't have the Supper Spot. That's a little bit of a bad thing that happens sometimes, but it usually doesn't happen all that much. Like, it's very rare because the Supper Spot is pretty easy to get in your hand, and you can usually use the Ikura pretty easily with it, but there will be moments that you will miss it. But just being able to special summon it while you control the Ikura is really nice, or while you control the Rice, you can special summon the Ikura is really helpful for it, and you play like 6 ways to get to it because you play 3 Rescue Rabbits, and then you also play 3 copies of Unexpected Die. So you play plenty of ways to get to it, which is what's really nice about that, about getting to the rice, and then having the Ikora in your hand to be able to special summon it, which is just really, really, really helpful. So we're going to go ahead and cut the deck again, and let's see what we can do for our next test stand. So let's see. We're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Ash Blossom. That's not too bad. A copy of Supper Spot. See, Supper Spot just likes to be in my hand. I don't know why it is. Double Ash, a copy of Hat Trick, and hopefully we get another level 4, which is another Supper Spot. So this is what happens sometimes in the deck. It's very rare, but this will happen sometimes where you will just not open anything. I would probably, at this point, because you don't have anything, I would probably activate the copy of the Supper Spot, and then I would just set a copy of Ash. I know that's a little bit bad, but that's all you pretty much have in your hand. And then you can pass to the opponent. Once you pass to the opponent and you're going to draw, they're probably going to take the Ash out and you're going to draw into an Ikora. And then you can kind of go off with some plays. You can use the copy of Ikora and then chain the copy of the Supper Spot. And then you'll be able to stack the deck with a copy of Rice. Rice will then be able to reveal, which you're going to reveal the other 2 as well, which is another Ikora, and a copy of Ash, which is pretty helpful just to be able to grab that card. Apparently Ash Blossom wants to show up in this hand because we've seen all 3 copies of her. And then we're going to use the effect of the Hat Tricker to be able to special summon to our side of the field, or you can actually hold it if you want to, because I'm going to show you guys a cool little trick. You can actually link these 2 together. If you want to link these 2 together and summon out to your side of the field a copy of the Bujin Link monster. And then once you do, the Bujin Link monster will go off and special summon both of these to your side of the field, and then overlay both of these for the copy of the Ikora Class Dreadnought, and then you can just draw a card, which is going to get you even more potential for this deck, because now you have a copy of the Ikora in hand, and you win a little bit plus. This card does just have 2200 attack, but it's still pretty good just to have these on the field. And the Ikora is going to help you out next turn because you can use it with the copy of Supper Spot to get you another monster on your side of the field, which just helps out a lot in this particular deck. Also, if you can battle with this and swing against your opponent, you can then use the copy of AA Zeus. If you just swing into something that's lower attack than 2200, you can then make Zeus on your main phase 2. And then once you make Zeus, you can basically just detach the 2 materials and blow board if you need to, which will destroy your Supper Spot, but it's fine because you have another one in hand. And then you'll just pass against the opponent, throw that guy in defense position, and then pass. Once you pass the opponent, you're going to draw for next turn, depending on what they do. The Zeus doesn't have any more pops on it. You just had the 1. But it's still pretty good to have at least the 1 pop that you were able to do with this card. Then we're going to activate an Ikora. You also had the Ash at points that you could discard this card to hit your opponent so they couldn't completely overwhelm you. But then at this point you can normal summon the Ikora. This will chain back and forth, chain link 1, chain link 2. And then you can use this to stack the deck. And then once you do, you're going to grab Rice, which you have to reveal again, the other 2, which is another Ash. She really wants to be in the hand. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then once you do, at this point, I would probably make a redoer because you have the copy of Adjuster in hand, because the Adjuster is going to help you out just getting another monster on your field. So we're going to go ahead and you can, it depends on what you want to do at this point. You can either overlay these 2 for a copy of Redoer, or you can overlay them for a copy of Emerald. It's kind of up to you. Since you've already normal summoned, because you normal summoned out this card will be stuck in your hand. So it's kind of up to you which one you go for. The Emerald's going to get you another monster from graveyard, but at that point, you can't special summon anymore. But if you special summon out the Redoer, it's going to let you summon out your copy of Adjuster. I would probably go for the copy of Redoer, because you can use the copy of Redoer to detach a material from it, which we're going to detach, or excuse me, we're going to not detach yet. We're going to special summon out this card, and then this card is going to let us send a card from deck to graveyard, which is the Bezel Ship. And then now that you have the Bezel Ship in graveyard, now you can make some really interesting plays. So now that we've got that on the field, you can then use the copy of the Bezel Ship to special summon itself back by then detaching a material off the copy of the Redoer. And then you can overlay both of these cards on your side of the field in for a copy of your Emerald, which if you'd like to, you can shuffle some cards back because you've used just 1 copy or 2 copies of your Rice, so you kind of want to make it live again. So you can either special summon it back to your side of the field by detaching material, or you can shuffle 3 monsters back into the deck and then draw a card. So I usually like to, depending on the game state, you have to kind of judge it by game state. I like to usually just special summon the monster back from the graveyard, but again, it very much depends on game state, what's going on. And we're just going to overlay both of these on our side of the field for the copy of the F-Zero, and then you can switch the Zeus to attack position, which is going to help you out kind of OTKing your opponent and building up a pretty good board. So even on the bad hands, you still get a Zeus, and even on a bad hand, you still got F-Zero and another monster on your side of the field. It was turn 3 that you pulled it off, and if we draw for next turn, you get a Winder, which is going to help you out as well, because then you can just normal summon the copy of Winder, or special summon it by detaching a material, which is going to help you out later on to just get into more plays, because at that point you can search your counter trap, you can search your copy of Regulator, you can search out your copy of Adjuster. It's totally up to you at this point what you search to be able to play deeper into another hand. So I think that's going to do it for this one, guys. As you guys can see, this deck is really fun. It's very consistent in what it's trying to do. You're trying to summon out your copy of F-Zero as quickly as possible and be able to just kind of give your opponent that really big boss monster that they're going to have to deal with. And basically your 3 boss monsters are going to be Zeus, your copy of the Sky Thunder, your copy of the Dreadnought, and your copy of Redoer, and then your copy of Megaclops. These are the ones that you're trying to go for the majority of the time while you're playing this deck. It's very easy to go for these because you use these to go into this. And then you use this when you battle, and then this is when you get 3 or more XZs on your side of the field, which is a little bit more difficult in this deck, I have to say, compared to the Raid Raptor build, but it's still pretty, like, when you can do it, it's really ridiculous to summon out Megaclops. So I think that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you think of this video down in the comments down below, because this deck is a blast. I love playing around with Suships and Time Thieves. It's a very simplistic deck in what it does, and I am just so excited to play this deck going forward because it's a fun deck. So anyways, guys, this is Dark Arm Duels. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.